It's Labor Day weekend coming up. That means summer is coming to a close. Cases of the coronavirus are down across the country. But some say there could be a second wave coming this fall. Is that true? And if so, how should we respond? Dr. Neal Elattrache is an orthopedic surgeon on the West Coast and who's followed this very closely since the very beginning. Doctor, thanks a lot for coming on. So first, do you believe there will be a second wave, whatever that means, of this virus?
Well, you know, Tucker, thanks for having me. I think that if we look at the trends of the virus, what's happened over the summer, and comparing where we are now to where we were in March and April, I think that the science and the data shows that we're in a far different place with a far different disease now than we were then. And I think that there's a lot of reason for optimism that we won't see a second wave big enough to consider new lockdowns of the economy. Maybe yes. We'll have second ripples in different parts of the country, but second wave, I don't think that the science would support that. In my profession, what we've done is we have, with regard to the major leagues in sports, baseball and in football, we see that the American public is if they believe in what they're hearing and what they're being told, we see the big parts of the American public are willing to follow the rules and do things that, from a personal standpoint, can prevent them from getting sick and spreading the disease. We've had over 200,000 intake tests done now on our NFL players since we began preseason camp. We haven't had any positives that we know of to this point. We've had almost 100,000 tests done in Major League Baseball with a 0.09% positivity rate. The vast majority of them are asymptomatic. And so, you know, you see that if people can believe what they're hearing and trust what they're being told, they'll do what's necessary to take care of themselves personally and get back to work. You know, the disappointing things are that I think that we have to pay attention to the numbers, but there has to be better context placed around the numbers to give the public confidence moving forward. You know, this heavy emphasis on the numbers and the positive tests that are done every day. We have to pay attention to those numbers, but it has to be given context. You know, if you look at the death rate and the morbidity that the virus causes in the population, the hospitalizations, those are more meaningful numbers to look at and to see the trends that we have. You know, in the New York region, for instance, you know, the death rate in people over 65 years old back in March and April was about 15%. And now we look at those death rates and it's about 2%. So we're treating people better. We're able to identify positive cases better. And so there's reason for optimism, including people that would get the disease. And another big part of this is to understand who is susceptible in our population to determine, you know, how this epidemic is going to go. You know, there are estimates, and there are very good studies now done on our immune system, on the very robust T-cell response to this. And I know that this has been in the news a bit, as has herd immunity, and herd immunity threshold has been publicized in the news. But the T-cell response is so important because what we're seeing is that in studies that are being done on T-cell immunity to COVID-19, where we have reactive cells that can fight the disease if we get it, right, we see about 50% of our population has immunity to some degree to COVID-19, believe it or not. Well, then there were tests done. Go ahead.
I mean, that's just that's a point that isn't made often enough, and I just want to say again, in case our viewers missed what you just said, that the death rate for older people, 65 and above in this country, this spring was 15%, is now down to 2%. That seems like a massive victory in advance, certainly a massive change, and maybe we should have read that more often than we have. Doctor, I appreciate your coming on. Thank you for the clarity and for your honesty. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Thank you.